Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Good Love Podcast, a Good Love project production with your friendly neighborhood sex geek and good lover, Katrina Boots Rainsong. Here at the GLP, we strive for informed, enthusiastic consent, so this is your content warning. The Good Love Podcast is a sex and relationship education podcast directed to adult listeners. We offer playful, powerful, and positive education on sexuality, pleasure, kink, sexual health and wellness, and a slew of other grown and sexy topics. If you find any of these topics objectionable, you're welcome to skip an episode or even the whole show. If you're under 18, we recommend heading over to scarletine.com for all youth-focused sex ed needs. Now, if you're an enthusiastic yes, get comfy and enjoy the show. Hello, good lovers, and thanks for joining me today. What you're about to hear is an informal little interview with the ever insightful, the oh-so-sexy Vana X, one of my favorite kinky humans and professional dominant in the Phoenix metro area. And I just note that you are going to fall in love with her voice and her beautiful mind, so of course make sure you check the show notes or the video description if you're watching this on YouTube, because you know I'm going to drop those links, those golden links that you want so much. So, if you're ready, plug in your headphones, get comfy, and come with me and Vana on this little journey through the gray areas of sexuality. I promise to be as enlightening as it is titillating, and probably kind of funny too. Isn't that what Kink always is? Titillating and hilarious. It's the Good Love Podcast, where no topic is off limits and all curiosities are welcome. So let's get started. So the plan today was to record an episode of Bad Bitch BDSM Reviews, but time and technology were just not on our side.
Not working. No.
Not on our side today. So you'll get a little bit of a teaser. We're going to talk about it a little bit and just talk about some things in general. Have conversation. Because you and I don't get to hang out nearly as much as,
No.
No. I wish you could. So we're trying something else, but we were going to be watching the movie that's it's probably on like the top of the list of like, you know, when people ask, what movies are you going to watch? 50 Shades of Grey.
Yes.
Yeah. Which you have seen before.
I have. It's been a little bit, but I've seen them all. I also remember reading the books while I was younger, so I have a different opinion when it comes to like the movies of 50 Shades of Grey. I feel like whenever you hear people talk about it in the community, the first thing they want to do is like complain about it.
Right.
Whereas I'm like no, let's lean into this. Let's discuss, you know, more of the benefits of what that movie has brought rather than just complain about it, which we definitely can do that as well. But I don't know. I have a more positive view on the movie.
Now, I have not seen it. I've only seen clips and like listened to partial readings. And I'll admit I was one of those people that was like, blah, blah, 50 Shades of crap, blah. However, since starting the B3 series, I'm realizing that like a lot of the things, there are positives, you know, it's giving people a chance to have conversations.
Yeah.
But also a lot of the things that we have complaints about in the film, they show up in a lot of other films. They show up in a lot of just like regular like vanilla like, you know, romantic dramas or even rom-coms. But also like even in other movies that are on this list, you know?
Yeah.
Like people hail Secretary. Mm-hmm. There's just full of problematic shit.
Oh, absolutely, yeah.
Yeah. And like, and the thing is, I brought this up on that episode, because I recorded the Secretary episode, because there's also similar problematic shit in like 9.5 Weeks, which was the like 50 Shades of the 80s.
Yeah.
And all three of them are
a rich white dude with the last name of Gray, I truly believe that they are related.
Possibly.
Yeah. Like, there's, like, each generation, you know?
Yeah.
Like, each generation.
I think it's because, like, it's that
men.
gray area, right? Like,
Yes.
the conversation of kink and, you know, all these sexy things, it's a gray area, even in, you know, this day and age.
Yeah.
I don't know.
No, totally.
Maybe that's what they were getting at there.
I think that is what they were getting at. But now I'm just like, well, now it's just lazy.
Mm-hmm.
You know, but, I mean, technically you could even go all the way back to, like, Oscar Wilde with the picture of Dorian Gray. While he's not, there's not BDSM in it.
And it's queer as fuck.
It's
yeah.
queer as fuck.
And I don't mean that like just in like a gay no, I mean it's just like that whole. Would you call that a character? Or like, yeah, character. Yeah, okay, yeah. The whole character and everything that Dorian Gray stands for is super queer. I always tell people too, like, I love the word queer. I might overuse it actually, and
same.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Okay. And I feel like to engage in kink is just queerness in itself.
Mm-hmm.
I was actually having a conversation with somebody the other day, and they were like a cishet individual, and I was trying to make the point that when you engage in like cishet activities, you know, there isn't always a conversation. There should be. And I think the world's getting better at having these conversations, but there's kind of this assumption of roles.
Mm-hmm.
And as compared to, like, if we're, you know, same sex, then we have to have that conversation because there's not really an assumption of roles when you're, you know,
right,
not hetero.
Yeah.
And like the way that I tried to explain to this person is like, if you go out to the bar right now downtown and it's really loud music, there's not a lot of conversation, but you're feeling it, you know, you're vibing with this person, and then the only thing you're able to hear in your ear is like, do you want to come home with me? And you guys say yes, and you engage, you know, in that, you go home, like, there's an assumption of what activities you guys are going to do without actually discussing it. Whereas, like, if I'm at the gay bar and, you know, I'm flirting with some chick, it's really loud music, and, like, the only thing I hear is, like, you want to go home, most likely going to say yes still. But in that car ride, I can guarantee you, or probably before that car or Uber ride, there's going to be a question of, like, well, what are you into? Like, what do you, like, because it's not an assumption.
Right, yeah.
And my whole point in that, though, is that to engage in anything kink, you have to have that conversation. And I feel like that's kind of like the leading of maybe where the definition of queer is going nowadays, of just talking about it, erasing everything that you know already about, you know, pleasure and sex, everything that you've done with everyone else. Like, you're not coming today with a resume. Instead, you're like, every person that you talk to, every person you engage with, it is queer to start from scratch.
Yeah. Yeah. No, absolutely. Yeah, no, absolutely. Because there's no set, like, formula or, like, dance steps that lead up to things.
Yeah.
Yeah, like, even the way that, like, scientifically we're starting to understand arousal and sexual response is actually different from what we originally thought and is more queer. Like, you know, I was showing you my library, my Sex Geek library.
Yes, it's amazing.
Thank y'all. And, you know, I have the Masters and Johnson, and, you know, they had that 4-step, like, elevating model of arousal, which, you know, was really helpful in a lot of ways at the time, but, like, what we're seeing now, it's not this, like, always this clear cut, like, okay, desire and then arousal and then plateau and then an orgasm and then death, but actually can be more circular, or even, like, you know, going back and forth, changing, zigzaggy, like, so many things, particularly especially if you add in, like, ideas around, like, spontaneous versus responsive desire, and then if you add in, like, kink elements, like, just basically anything that's, like, not specifically intercourse.
Right.
Yeah, it changes the whole thing.
I love that. Yeah, like I think too, like what comes to mind is within the kink community is like primal play. Mm-hmm. Like a lot of people, like obviously primal play can be can involve, you know, intercourse and more the sexual aspect. But one of the things,
for good lovers that don't know, what's primal play?
oh yeah, sorry. Oh gosh, okay. I hate to put definitions on things. I'm like, oh, that's my definition, and so it's like, and if someone has a different opinion, I'm always afraid that they're gonna be like, this is the opinion, and this is definition. Anywho, so the way that I would like describe primal play is that people who there's a like a predator and a prey, similar to that of like the animal kingdom, and there's a chase involved. I would say it's differing in like your standard DS, dominant submissive or master slave dynamics or power exchanges, in that you both have the potential to win, you know, like one is like the prey is definitely going to be like the weaker starting out, but they're still going to put up a good fight.
Yep.
And it's still different than bratting. It's just like, I'm going to do my best to win this. But ultimately the predator is probably going to win because they have that advantage and they prefer to stay in that.
And because the prey wants to get caught.
Yeah, and the prey wants to. But is that an okay definition?
I thought that was a great definition.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
And so like that can be in the form of just like kind of picking people up. So I go out and I see somebody that I like. I know maybe in the community that they identify as prey. And let's say we've talked and they're okay with me kind of chasing them. So I might, you know, try and like overpower or like challenge them, to get that like dynamic. I would say that was like maybe what it could look like outside the bedroom. In the bedroom, it could like look like you are just two animals attacking each other and, until one gets pinned down enough. So yeah, that's what I would say maybe.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah? Would you agree? Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
I agree. I cannot run. So, like, for me, because I also like to engage in primal play, but it's more like, rather than it being predator-prey, it's a little more like rough mating ritual.
Okay.
Like, you know?
I like that.
So, yeah, like, being taken down, lots of biting.
Yeah.
I love being a good bite.
Primal play is definitely like an umbrella because I feel like like within primal play you'll attract maybe people who are into like I could see how like furries or like kittens or puppies, like all those other like animal and pet players can engage in this. And then also like apart from that, like your brats, your littles, and you know, it's like a really big umbrella term that everyone can kind of play under.
Absolutely.
Without breaking their like identity.
Absolutely, yeah. I definitely come at it from like a pet play standpoint because I'm a kitty. Sometimes I'm more of a big cat, but often like, especially when I'm top, like I had a former partner that like I was a kitty and he was a bunny. You know, what's a cat going to do if it sees a bunny? It's going to try to take it down and bite the fuck out of it.
Yeah, in a really fucking adorable way, I feel like.
Yep.
Like that, okay.
Yes, even at my most sadistic, I'm still, like, cute.
Yeah.
So you saw me in my bear costume this last
Oh my
weekend.
god, I felt so bad too.
You were
I was
like, are you a baby? I was like, I am a bear. Right.
We recently were at an event together this last weekend, yeah.
Yeah.
It was Bears, Booty, and Beer
Bash.
And Beer Bash, yeah. They were raising funds for some local nonprofits that are amazing.
Yeah, it was the Arizona Pride Scholarship that was put on by my good friend Dick Skinny.
Yeah. So yeah, I didn't put two and two together that she was dressing like a bear. Because it was a Care Bear, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, it was like a Care Bear onesie from Little for Big. So, like, it is, like, a Little's outfit.
Yes.
But I was just like, but it's a bear. It's
the
bear that I have. Yeah, so I have the blue, like, Grumpy Bear one. And my girlfriend, I got her the pink Cheer Bear one with, like, the rainbow.
Oh, that's so cute. God, where were we going with this? Primal play.
Primal play. I'm just talking about basically like removing like particularly gender-based roles and expectations,
Right.
and like just that whole formula, you know, because you think of that like very specific formula of like, okay, we're gonna make out and then we're gonna go, you know, it's like that, it's that
1,
whole
2,
like
3 step.
that 1, 2, 3 step, first base, second base, blah 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 blah. Oh god, I remember once I hooked up with this guy who like got weird with, because, you know, I asked him to go down on me and he had already fingered me, and he's like, oh, I usually don't do that like it's like things went out
you
of...
broke the order.
I broke the order. And so then he was like weird about it. And yeah, and I was like, it's your finger. It's not like your dick has been in me yet. And he's like, oh yeah, that's true. So then he did, and like things like continued on, and it was still a lovely time. But I was just like, that was so weird.
Interesting.
Yeah,
I definitely think gender roles are what drive that. I see that more with like cis men, that society kind of expects them to know how to have sex. Like they have to do all this research, but the research we have out there is pretty shit. Not the research, I shouldn't say that, excuse me. The content is maybe more oversaturated with a wide spectrum. Even though there is really good research within that, it's not always the one that they access right away.
Yep.
So yeah, and so in your head, when you don't know how to do something, you're like, okay, 1, 2, 3 step. What's the fastest that I can learn this? Because I want to get down to business. And there's not enough emphasis on it being like a journey and conversations and
just play. Just play.
Yes.
I know. I've talked with a few folks. Mostly, I think it was mostly just a couple of other like female sex workers I was talking to that like they said they didn't like the word play because there's like, it feels like he's being like a creepy old man kind of thing, and I was like, I'm like I don't know the person that you're talking about, so I can't say, but I'm like, a lot of people use the term play because, I mean, truly, that's what it is.
I love that, yeah.
Yeah, like, this is adult play.
Yes.
Regardless of whether you're, like, going full-bore whips and chains and piercing, or if you're just, you know, looking up at your partner from Missionary and, like, whispering something in their ear.
Yeah.
You know?
I'm pretty sure it was like Midori, I won't quote like word for word, but like she defines, you know, kink as like the like adult playground. Like this is what we're doing. We are, you know, depending on how you were as a child and what you enjoyed in play, like
it's play with adult privilege.
Yes. Okay.
I know that's I know the exact quote you're talking about, but I can't. Yeah, that's like the tail end of it. Is like play with childlike play with adult privilege.
Yeah.
And it's like, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. I mean, and I think like when we think about the things that we like lose from, you know, as we grow into adulthood, it's, you know, that creativity, that play. And so being able to access that as adult is fucking great. So I love the term play.
Yeah. And with play, there's also this release of like performance and thinking that you have to show up in a very specific way and do everything right. You know?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
I remember too, like just like being younger, and when you like engage in play, there's so much more talking, right? Like I don't know if you ever like played with dolls with friends and stuff, but like you play dolls by yourself and you like know how to like play with yourself. But then like when you play dolls with other people, like you'd have to talk a lot.
Oh yeah,
you'd have to like accept rejection, and you'd have to like, you know, kind of.
Oh yeah, I love listening in on my younger daughter when she's playing with friends, and it's actually really cute. They have this dialogue that goes back and forth, and it's like, pretend ABC, okay, yeah, and then pretend XYZ, and it's totally that improv of like yes and
yeah,
which is absolutely what we do.
Right.
In, like, role play and in kink. And
I'm not sure when we start to lose it, actually. Like, if I start, like, looking back, I'm like, maybe it's like when you enter the workforce and you're just, like, told to do stuff and you start accepting things and you don't challenge authority at that point.
Right. Yep.
We don't get to practice it as much, having this yes and conversations with people. But.
Yeah. And also because you get, like you talked about, when you play with someone else, you have to, like, face with rejection, things like that. Yeah. So also that fear of, like, oh, now the stakes are higher. If I get this wrong, I might be rejected. I might be shamed. I might even put myself in danger in some way.
Right. And at the same time, though, like, if I don't speak up and say, like, I want this, then I'm not going to have that met. So, like, when two people engage in play, like, they're really having to, like, advocate for what they want and then also be able to hear the rejection or, be open to somebody else's desires. Like, yeah, play's a great fucking word for this.
Absolutely. Yes.
I wonder why people who, I have an idea, but, like, why they don't like the word play. I can assume because there's that,
that idea.
Schema of, like, children or something. And
yes.
Obviously that's not something that, you want to, like, branch together, but yeah.
Yeah, that's pretty much what the person that was expressing it said. And so it's like, well, so it's like, not to, like, push back, but here's another perspective.
Right.
It's just like, oh, okay, yeah, I see that.
Yeah. Totally. So, you're saying you haven't seen 50 Shades. Is there a reason why you haven't? Because it's been out for a long time now.
I know.
There's, 3 of them?
Yes, and so many knockoffs.
Yeah. Spoofs and all. Like,
if you go on Tubi, there's so many, like, darker shades of Elise, shades of so-and-so and so-and-so. Why haven't I? First off, was because of just that whole, like, we're real kinksters and we don't watch that because bleh. And then a friend showed me, like, a clip because he was just like, just watch this one sex scene. It's so hot. And, like, I watched it and I was like, this sucks. Like, I'm like, no, this is dumb and boring. And I'm like, no, I definitely don't want to. But, when making the list for the film series, for the film review series, obviously I had to put it on there. And there's a few titles on that list that I swore I would never watch.
Wait, which one?
Sallow, 120 Days of Sodom, which I'm watching on Saturday with Aiden.
Okay.
And he's seen it before. Actually, it was great. I sent him the film list, and he picked the 3 most, like, intense, like, difficult films.
Yeah, sounds like Aiden.
Yeah, he's just like, 2 of these I've seen, and the other one, like, I haven't seen, but I'm good. I was like, oh, thank God, because those were the 3 I was a little worried about finding guests for. So yeah, so Aiden's, like, my go-to for, like, the really difficult movies. So we've already watched The Night Porter, which was another one I thought I would not watch, but was actually really good. I actually really liked it. Yeah, and oh God, because I tried reading 120 Days of Sodom when I was, like, 19, and I was just like, nope. If you want to read Desaad, Philosophy in the Bedroom is probably one of the least upsetting.
Okay. I have not seen it, so.
Sallow? Yeah. Okay. The synopsis itself needs a trigger warning.
Okay. Yeah, we're good. All right.
Yep.
I can't really watch even scary movies in general. I don't know if it's scary at all, but I'm just saying, like, I'm so sensitive to...
It's not scary. It's just supremely fucked up.
Okay, cool.
Yeah. But I was like, if I'm going to be integrity, with this theme, I'm going to have to do it. Plus, I'm working through... I get, like, wrapped up on, like, directors. So I've been watching the directors, like, other stuff. It's Pier Paolo Pasolini. And he was actually, like, murdered after the movie was made.
Oh, shit.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, so it's like Pasolini died for his art.
Valid, yeah.
So,
Okay.
yeah. Yeah, so, but yeah, like, after seeing that little clip, I was like, it's boring. But I'm,
Okay.
like I said, I'm shifting my feels around the whole thing.
Okay.
The more that I see other stuff, and I realize I'm like, and I wonder too, like, why did this one get so much flack compared to, like, the other two movies that I compared it to?
Like in more recent years.
Yeah, and yeah, like.
Mm-hmm. Well, the other two though, were they in movie theaters or no?
I don't believe Secretary was. I'm pretty sure
was.
9.5 weeks.
Okay.
Was. And 9.5 weeks was like, became like code in like newspaper, like classified ads. 9.5 weeks became like code for looking for like a kink partner.
Yeah.
And yeah, it's also full of problematic stuff, although it is really, really fucking hot.
Okay. Yeah, my ex-girlfriend actually is the one that introduced me to Secretary. I remember watching it, and I'm just, like, the first time I watched it, too, I was like, I don't get it. But, like, the more and more I watched it, like, the more, like, I could pull stuff from it. I feel like to watch Secretary, like, it's better if you have, like, a personal background, you know. If I was, like, super vanilla, which I was when I saw Secretary, I was like, I just don't get it. And later on I ended up getting it, which I think those are great movies too, that like the more you watch it, the more you like learn. Side note, I took a theater class because I needed a humanities. It was a film and cinema class. I watched so many movies I fucking did not want to watch. And that was something that the teacher, professor, like, had drove into me. It was just like, you know, the most magical movies are the ones that you keep watching and, you know, find new hidden gems. And I hated him as a professor. So the fact that I'm quoting him right now, I'm like, fuck him. But yeah, but I guess, like, that is, like, a cool thing to watch movies and be able to pull more from it.
Absolutely.
I actually think that, like, 50 Shades of Grey is one of those movies, too. Every time I watch it, I feel a little differently. And I think that's just because I continue to grow within my own, you know, kink and BDSM journey. And you're always finding more about yourself. And then when you're able to watch something and feel differently, it's like, oh, wow, it's like that validation that, like, I did grow.
No, absolutely. I do feel that way about Secretary because I've watched it numerous times. It's funny you said that you were vanilla when the first time you saw it, because I was definitely not. Honestly, but I've never been vanilla. Like,
I mean, okay. I wasn't vanilla like that. But
no, I mean, like, I was, like, actively diving into, like, kink stuff. I've been kinky for as long as I've been sexually active.
Gotcha.
Yeah. So, like, I remember the first time I watched it just being like, oh my god, representation, and they beat some gets it, na. And then, like, later being like, totally going through this journey of, like, to, like, oh, actually, but then coming back to it again, especially this most recent time that I watched it for the series, and, like, being like, oh, but, like, this part is really great, and here's this, you know, yeah, definitely finding different gems and, like, a new, like, appreciation for the good parts. And I think really what it all comes down to is, like, fantasy.
Yeah.
We need fantasy. Fantasy is not education, although it is, because you're learning about yourself, what you like, what gets you excited, you know. And I think that's the thing, like, that people, when we get hung up on, like, you know, with any of them, like, this isn't, like, really accurate, blah, 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 blah. It's like, because it's fantasy.
Yeah. It's meant to entertain us, and it's not meant to be a educational guide whatsoever.
Yeah. Yeah. Because, like, nobody wants to, like, watch, you know, so is it, like, I think it was Oscar Wilde, coming back around to Oscar Wilde again. He said, like, drama is life with the boring parts cut out. You know?
Yeah.
Yeah. Someone wants to like watch a Domina sub like sitting at the table like going over their taxes or something.
Oh god. That is so valid. Like I have a service sub, and like it's being like a 24/7 dynamic. I feel like people don't talk a lot about 24/7 dynamics like to that depth. It's there's a lot of boringness to it, a lot of just like mundane life that you're, you know, experiencing with each other. That's great.
Yeah, people imagine, I think, this idea that you're like in like scene role
24/7.
24/7, and it's like, no, you have your role, because we all have roles, you know, mom, wife, husband, whatever. We all have roles, but then like how you are, even within like a vanilla context, how you are sexually with your partner when you're in play is going to be different than how you are when you're in the kitchen, unless you're, you know, you got a babysitter in the house empty and you're playing in the kitchen.
Valid. Yeah, yeah, that's so true.
So, you know, 50 Shades as well as these other films are, you know, often like a gateway drug of sorts, a door for some people. What was your door?
Into Kink?
Yeah.
Oh god.
Like, how did you find your way there?
Oh gosh. Okay.
Or discover that you had it in you.
Yeah. So I always try to like carefully craft the way that I speak about my journey, because I don't like to talk about under 18. So I usually say, like, for all intents and purposes, we'll start at 18. Obviously, before then, there was a lot of like exploration involvement and stuff, but I won't go into like storytelling for those years.
Sure.
So it was definitely present way before there. I would say that like probably 8 years old is maybe the marker. So it was involved of all of those explorations throughout there. When I was 18, I was actually married to a man, and we were like open swingers. We were in an open marriage. We went to like a lot of sex parties, and just like we're really active in the swinging community here. This is also like back in the day of like Craigslist and Backpage, and just, you know, if you were a kinky fucker back then, we had very specific outlets.
Right. It was such a different time.
Yeah. And like a hella respect to those that like were kinky back in the, you know, 70s and 80s and before the internet, or like we have so many more resources now, but yeah, even then, like, it was really limited. And so I remember I was on Craigslist a lot, and I would like, and searching through like the casual encounters of Craigslist, I was kind of able to kind of explore my kinky side by seeing what other people were looking for. I'm like, oh, what's that mean? What's this? You know? So I was learning a lot there. I actually had identified, not as submissive, but as a baby girl, starting out in my kink journey.
Oh, I bet you were a super cute baby girl.
Thank you. Sometimes I wish that I could still tap into that. Maybe I'll explore that later on in life, but it was a very long time ago. And so yeah, I was on the baby girl side of things. I really enjoyed like the daddy baby girl caregiver caretaking aspect of it, and then lateral to that was we were swingers, and I was 18 too, so like it really played well. And I went to a party. It was a swinger party, vanilla swinger party, and I met a super hot couple. And this woman, she was like, "Kick my husband in the balls." I remember it like so clearly because we were in the kitchen, and I was just like grabbing a drink, talking casual. Like I was just like, "What?" Like I felt like it came out of nowhere. And she was like, "Yeah, no, kick him in the balls. He loves it." I'm like, I thought she was kidding, so I just laughed it off. You know,
right.
Slightly uncomfortable. I only had like engaged in like more of the softer sensual side of kink, and then she's like, "Here, watch," and so she like did it, and then I was just like, something like turned, like a light bulb went off in my head, and I was like, "Seriously? Are you sure? Like, okay, yeah." He said, "Yeah, not just her," and so I did, and I was like, "Oh my god!" Like I think that was the first time I experienced dom high. Like I was like, "Holy shit, this is fucking great!" Like I felt fucking amazing. And I think that was like the beginning of like it kind of going from baby girl to like, or maybe I shouldn't go downwards, maybe I should go upwards, I don't know. Of that changing. Yeah, it's like, I don't know. Not that one's better than the other, but it was definitely like when you go from from bottom to top. Yeah. And I was kind of outgrowing my, like daddy at that time too. I was getting deep into the exploration, and he was, you know, pretty stagnant in, what he was comfortable with. And so I wanted to keep exploring. And so I was starting to outgrow him. And so, yeah, experiencing this, like, first form of, you know, ball busting or CBT, I guess, whatever you want to call it. I started kind of playing more into that. And then, like, the way that I started dressing started to change. And, that was kind of when I was like, yeah, no, CBT is, like, for me. Which still to this day is, like, one of my biggest fetishes and kinks. So yeah.
Hell yeah. That's awesome.
Yeah.
That's so funny that, like, I also at 18 had one of the first things that was brought to me request was also ball busting.
Was it?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, it was like,
I think it's a great party trick.
it was my first week working at the strip club.
Okay. Oh, yeah, okay.
Yeah, so I'm 18, okay. 18, I'm working in a strip club. Guy asked for a dance and asked me to, like kick him in the shins and kick him in the balls, and I was just like, oh, I can't do that. A few months later, though, like, my tune had, like, very much changed, like, because, one, I like, saw that, okay, like, yes, this kind of thing is allowed, because it's, you know, because I'm not giving him a handy. And I had also, like, had time to explore more. And a lot of, like, my exploration actually was largely without the internet.
Huh, nice.
Yeah, because it's, like, small town, late 90s, early 2000s. And I didn't have a computer, you know, to go into the library to be able to check my email and shit. So my exploration was, like, going to the one adult shop we had in town, Castle, which when it came, there was, like, a huge protest.
Oh, really?
Oh, yeah.
I didn't know that. You're in Phoenix?
Oh, no. No, I grew up in Oregon.
Oh, sorry. Okay, I was like, wait, what?
I grew up in a small town in Oregon.
Okay.
Yeah, so, like, the club I worked at when it first got there had protests. Funny enough, my mom was actually one of the protesters.
Ooh, okay.
Flash forward 10 years later, I'm working there. And yeah, when Castle had come, there were huge protests because this was a very small town with a mega church that had, like, its fingers in a lot of stuff. So yeah, just, like, going and looking at all this stuff and getting magazines, looking at the magazines, and I discovered Skin 2, which was, like, this is, like, rubber and fetish magazine from London. And that's also when I bought Midori's book, The Seductive Art of Japanese Bondage, right? And so that was, like, my first, like, kink education book that I ever bought. And I still have it.
You, like, were set on a great track.
Like, it was, like, I got that, and then the next one I got was, like, SM 101. But, like, and I still have, like, both of those copies that I bought when I was 18. I actually got to have Midori sign my book last year. It's like,
I met Midori this year briefly in a bathroom, and I totally fangirled the fuck out. Like,
how could you not?
It was an ASECT conference, and I was in line at the bathroom, and, like, there's a long line, and then I hear her voice behind me, and someone's like, oh, like, talking to her, she's like, oh, and what's your name? I turned around, and I was like, I know who you are. You're Midori. I'm like, oh, what a fucking nerd. Okay. And then I introduced myself shamelessly before I ran off into the stall, but yeah, sorry.
No, totally. Like, yeah, huge fan girl. Yeah, so I started, like, I started with, you know, I was exploring things in my youth, and yeah, I was definitely always there, I remember when that film The English Patient came out, and there was a scene where, like, this woman, like, smacks this guy across the face, like, smacks him so hard he, like, drops to his knees, and then, like, of course, they, like, go at it. But that slap, I had a very intense, visceral response. I'm just like, oh, I have feelings.
Yeah.
Interesting. Yeah, and being like the weird goth girl, of course, people made jokes, you know, like, oh, most likely to be a dominatrix, blah blah blah. But yeah, so then fast forward, strip club, been working there for a while, and then once again had a guy ask for a dance in the VIP room, and he's like, I don't actually want you to dance for me. I want you to, like, slap me and punch me and stuff. And so, yeah, that was my first experience with Dom High, was, like, just, yeah.
I mean, there's already a high, too, just, like, working in the club. Like,
absolutely.
Fucking lighting, the vibes,
absolutely.
like the...
And it's funny,
It's almost dungeony vibes, too.
It totally is, because it's very dark, especially, like, yeah, if you have a separate, like, VIP room area, like, yeah. And it was funny because I had shaved my head at the time, but I was wearing wigs when I worked. So I was wearing this wig, and I was wearing a gown that I had borrowed from a friend. So I was in, like, super, like, soft high femme space. And so I just remember thinking, like, why me? Why did he pick me for this? Because I don't look the part right now, at least as I thought. Because all I knew was, like, the skin to, like, full latex da-da-da images of femdoms. But we did the thing, and it was fucking great. Like, yeah, first time with, like, ball busting, slapping, punching, spitting, like, all the things. So fun. And then, like, every time that he came around after that, like, I knew that I was going to make my rent like that night. I was just like, hell yeah. Yeah, so...
I love that.
Yeah, absolutely fantastic. I was like, this is way more power than a 19-year-old should have.
Yeah. I've had a taste and I need more.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's funny because it was the end of my shift, so I, like, I was done, I went back, and I had gotten undressed, and I'm ready to leave, and one of the girls was like, hey, he wants you again. And I was just like... So now I'm shaved head... Like,
oh my god, you're, like, a whole new person.
I'm an entirely different person.
Yeah.
Yeah, and, like, he hasn't seen me yet.
Yeah.
So I'm in the dressing room, so now I'm, like, shaved head, leather biker jacket, camo pants, Misfits t-shirt.
Beautiful.
Boots. And I was like, but I'm not... Okay. And I came back out, and his eyes just got so wide.
You're like, and then my rent was covered for the next 6 months.
Yep.
That's great.
Yeah, absolutely.
I think that's, like, a good, like, thing that you're leading onto there, though, is that, like, you know, that dominance, that power, it doesn't come from your clothes. It's something within, and I think that just people can pick it up, you know, in general. You know, it's the way that you carry yourself, the tone, the way you perform a sentence, the way you, like, your shoulders are back. There's all these other little elements to it.
Absolutely. And I feel like in films, often we see, like, kind of the reverse. It's so often that usually the man, like, the dominant person, is the one that sees the submissive inside their, you know, their partner, or, like, the person that they're interested in. Like, they know that they're submissive, even though she doesn't know it about herself.
Oh god, I just want to vomit at that. Every fucking, like, pop song. She don't know she's beautiful. Bitch, we fucking know these things inside. Like,
right? Yeah.
We don't need you to tell us. I'm sorry.
Oh no, I agree. No, I remember I heard this song that was like, "I'm gonna love you till you learn to love yourself," and I was like, codependency.
Yeah. No.
Oh, codependency, the musical. Ooh. Yeah.
You think that happens, like, in kink, though, that, like, other people, like, realistically, that other people are able to, like, pull that out before you know?
I don't know. I feel like when I see that in movies, it just feels like projection.
Okay.
Although,
Like, I want you to be that for me.
I want you to be that for me. Although,
Okay.
and I'm thinking about it now and I'm realizing, I have seen one movie where it is the woman that, like, sees it in him. Because like, they're at dinner and he specifically says, like, how do you know that someone's like you? Like, meaning kinky. And he's like, look around, like, can you like, pick someone here in the restaurant?
I think everyone's kinky.
Yeah, I think so too. And she, like, looks around and then she's like, okay, yeah, I found him. He's like, who is it? He's like, oh, who is it? It's like, he doesn't know yet. And then, of course, like, later, like,
No, that's
the thing.
great. Okay.
Yeah. Body of evidence. Hot film. You should definitely check it out.
I think, like, in the real world of, like, kink and BDSM, if I think about somebody doing that, I automatically am, like, suspicious of them being, like predatorial. Mm-hmm. And I think it's probably because it's, like, that whole, like, pimp vibe. Like,
yeah.
Like, if I came up to you and I told you, like, either you're vanilla or let's say you're submissive, and I come up to you and I say, you've got a dominant look. You'd be a great dom. Like, and I start telling you things to, like, put these things in your head. It feels wrong. It feels way too predatorial. Like, if I approached it like, oh, are you dominant? Or have you explored that? Oh, like, your energy, kind of reminds me of, what I know about other people. Like,
right.
Like, that's a different way to approach it. But I'm like, I don't know. If someone, like, comes up, I'm like, that just sounds like a pimp and a predator.
No, I know. No, it does. Absolutely. Because it's projecting, and it's projecting for it to, like, for their own desires.
Yeah.
Yeah, for what they want to get out of you.
Right.
Rather than truly appreciating something that they see inside the person. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So do you think that, like, kink and BDSM, like, should only be explored via your own interests without, like, external influence?
I mean, no one's an island, so I don't know if that's truly possible. I mean, I guess to a certain degree. I mean, I guess, like, mine was to a certain degree, like I said, like, not having access to the internet and having to, like, reach for it, search for it.
Right, but you searched for it compared to someone else kind of saying, like, I want you to do this, except that one guy. But you were engaging in sex work, which is already, like, kind of tips the scale, I feel like, and, like, makes it
difficult. I was already engaging in sex work. I was already, like, exploring other kind of dominant things, and like,
it lined up really well, it sounds like.
Yeah, like, you came around at the right time, and it wasn't long after that I then started, like, getting into, like, fetish modeling and stuff. So yeah, a lot of my introduction to kink came from, like, professional spaces, which I feel like definitely, like, I'm grateful for. I feel like I was a little bit spoiled. But at the same time, like, I recognize that probably skews my vision for some things too.
Yeah, because I think one of the hardest things for me to think about, like, with this movie, like, 50 Shades of Grey, that was, in theaters and everything, is that kink is not for everyone. There's a lot of, kink BDSM, it's not for everyone, and I still think that there's a lot of wonderful things that can be pulled from it, like, scene negotiation. There's a lot of transferable skills, but
Definitely.
It's not everyone's cup of tea. And I even, like, to this day need to, check myself. I've literally got, like, consent written on my, like, chest. And I have to remind myself that even holding certain conversations around people, like, that's something that people still need to consent to. And so, like, having a movie like 50 Shades of Grey, which reaches all audiences, people who have never been exposed, to these topics or conversations, or who have, like, you kind of have to meet them where they are. And yeah, as I'm saying this, I'm trying to piece it together because I think I'm, like, still understanding what I'm trying to say. But I mean, at the very minimum, it does start the conversation.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think there's always been different things that do start the conversations, and, like, I think in the past, sometimes like, the whatever, like, media or art, whatever exposure was maybe not as direct, you know, as like here is a movie about a BDSM relationship, but instead was, you know, Wonder Woman comics and seeing Wonder Woman getting like spanked and tied up,
that is so
or
true,
like the Gore novel series, which like is a whole like planet where like that is the society is largely based in male dom feminine submission stuff, and that's another one too, like 9.5 Weeks, where like Gore, GOR, became a code in personal ads, classified ads for looking for like kink. And while Gore is extremely problematic for a lot of reasons, I actually like a lot of the aesthetics. And there were a lot of we still have a lot of aesthetics from like Gore or Story of O, stuff like that, that most of us, especially like our age and younger, don't even know that that's where those things come from. But yeah, because, you know, you have a moment, whether it's like a piece of music or something that happens during an encounter with someone that makes you go, oh, I've just learned something about myself, and maybe I don't know what it is. I'm currently reading, I think it's over here actually, The Velvet Underground, which, yes, this is where the band gets its name. And it's like, there's another vintage, I don't know if I would truly call it sex ed, but something. But like, it's written in the 60s, and it's supposed to be this whole like expose of like the dark sexual underground of America. And I'm reading about it, and a lot of it is about like swingers and kinksters in the 60s and how they found each other. And it was like, you know, you had a magazine that fit your interest that would have like a mailing list, and you get on the mailing list, similar to like classifieds, and people would like have to write letters to each other. Yeah. And even like,
which, can we bring that back just a little bit?
Yes.
No, I want letters.
That's letters. Yeah, they would have to send letters, and they would send like photos in letters, and this is still under Comstock, so like they're running legal risk, you know? And I just found that like I found it really fascinating, just like, wow, the technology has changed, but the drive and people's willingness to take the risk and reach out and find like-minded people to like have their kinks fulfilled, and their fantasies and desires fulfilled, like that drive has always been there. It's never changed.
And I can bet anything that people that were going through that would have never imagined that we'd have a mainstream movie like 50 Shades of Grey, even if it's all fucking wrong.
Yeah, right?
Like,
absolutely.
Just that like validation of having a space, even if it's all wrong. I mean, if we look back through like history and stuff, like the way that we like document things, I feel like we get it wrong first, and it takes a lot of activism for it to even get close to getting the credit it deserves for most topics, you know?
That's true, because we, like, especially for entertainment, but even for, like, news and stuff, we lean towards the salacious.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, shit, like, I remember growing up and having, like, white Egyptians in my book, like, pictures of them in cartoons, and I'm like, I didn't think anything of it then, and growing to be an adult, I'm like, that was not right.
Right.
Like, what the fuck?
Right. Or thinking about, like, you think of, like, old films that have, like, lesbian characters, and it's always, like, it's always only the extreme, like, butch and femme, and the butch is often, like, very, like, predatory.
Yes.
And, like...
taking the girl away from her husband and wife and kids, and she's asking her to risk losing her business and kids and life to run away with her.
Right. Like, it's always this really intense, or even like...
And then they always get killed off. Like,
oh yeah,
and it's still something in like modern day like shows for lesbians. Why do we keep killing them off?
They always either die or end up with a man, because you have to like fix it. But even like and I'm thinking of like films from like the 60s and stuff, but even like you come to the 90s with like Chasing Amy.
Yeah.
Fucking hate that movie. But at the same time, as a little baby queer, that was the only thing I had.
That was it. We fucking needed it at that time.
It. Yeah.
Yeah. I wonder how many like younger people who've watched like 50 Shades needed that. Mm-hmm. Even though we still have, Secretary and all those other films that you are beautifully covering, there's something really unique about 50 Shades, and I feel like of your list, which, correct me if I'm wrong, or if you, not correct, because I guess it's opinion-based, but, like, if you have a different opinion, like, is one of the most digestible movies for a vanilla crowd.
I would say so. Probably.
Like, no matter where you are, somebody will have something to say, and it's reached audiences. Mm-hmm. I keep mentioning Secretary because that was like a big film for me in like kink films.
Yeah, and it was for a lot of people, but it was still it didn't have a theatrical release. It was still very like independent.
And if I mention that movie to a vanilla crowd now, most of them won't know it. Mm-hmm. If I mention 50 Shades, they know it.
Oh yeah,
it got coverage. Like, and I think that that might like just recognizing where we are at this point in history of like the advancement of, tapping into mainstream. Like, when I hear people in the community say, like, we got this wrong, that's fine. I'll fucking take it. Because somebody needs that right now. And that means that, maybe in 5 years or 10 years or 20 years, like, we're going to fucking get it right. We're having these conversations.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I'm very much like, find me a movie, a kink movie or kink book that gets it 100% correct or 100% accurate. You're not going to. If for no other reason than the fact that kinksters are not a monolith. Mm-hmm. And, like, my kink experience is not that person's kink experience.
Mm-hmm. And I was talking to somebody recently, too, that, like, when we have to be careful that we don't gatekeep this community. Yeah. Because that's not going to age well either, Nope. And that happens with any minority group or any community that doesn't have a lot of, like, attention or spotlight. We work so hard to get into these, like, that mainstream spot that we start to silence other people to protect that. Mm-hmm. And that's so dangerous because we even look back at, like, within kink and BDSM, I would say that in this day and age, the hierarchical communities is almost a thing of the past. It doesn't, full respect to, like, leather communities and title holders, but there's a lot of people that choose to not engage in that. Mm-hmm. Me, myself, I am not okay with going to kink events and people calling me Mistress Nirvana if they don't want to. Mm-hmm. I know that there's been clubs that I've gone to here in the U.S. and they introduced me. I'm Master So-and-so. I'm not going to call you that honorific. Like, mm-hmm. I don't know you, and doesn't mean I don't have respect for you, but I don't know. That's my take. And it's very different of that of the past, and it's probably going to be different for other people in the future. And you were recognizing, more genders, and we're tearing apart and exploring human sexuality. Mm-hmm. And we're going to continue to do that, and we're going to find information in this journey that's going to debunk the other stuff that we fought so hard for. And we're like, no, this is right. We also have to acknowledge that as we advance in this and learn more and explore, it's going to mean that things are going to get outdated, despite how passionate we have been about them.
Yep, exactly. Often the thing that was progressive at one time, like 10 years, 20 years, will look regressive.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think it's just so important to not live in those absolutes. And I think that that's one of the things that, like, irk me the most when I hear people talk about 50 Shades of Grey, is that they go right to the, this is wrong, this isn't right, this, and let's be real, anything we start at first, we kind of suck at. Like,
right. That's true.
One thing I tell people that, like within the poly community, there's only so much that you can read and prepare for. Mm-hmm. And then the second you dip your toe in the practicing part, it's going to hit you. Because you know what? You might be at level 20 of reading and researching, poly stuff or BDSM or kink, but the second you put your toe and you try something physical, you're at square one. And we need to be gentle about that. We're going to fuck up. It doesn't mean we shouldn't, read and research and do our due diligence. But
have grace for yourself and for others.
Yeah.
Yeah. Absolutely.
So I'm super excited to watch the movie.
I am.
I hope I haven't given you too much away about it.
No, not at all. Not at all.
Okay.
No, I know. I mean, I know quite a bit of the storyline and stuff, so there won't be a whole lot of surprises, and I generally don't give a shit about spoilers. Okay. But no, if anything, actually, this conversation has me even more excited. To watch it with you.
Cool.
So, yay. Well, I think we're gonna wrap up. Any pluggables that you would like to plug? How can the good lovers find you?
Yeah, I love that you said pluggables, and my mind went to anal plugs. I was
what
the fuck's a pluggable?
Every time I say here pluggables, yeah, it's kind of. It's it's
pluggables, insertables. I got them all. What do you mean?
Right? You got thingamabobs? I've got 20.
Oh, I love that. Yeah. I am on Instagram and Twitter or X. For however long until they take me down.
Right.
But my website's the best way to get in contact with me. I love hearing from people. I'm also pretty active here in the community in Arizona. If you are local, see me at an event, please come introduce yourself. I love meeting people.
And you offer peer coaching.
I do, yeah.
Yeah.
So I offer peer support within the community, and so one of my favorites is, scene preparation and kind of working on female dominance. Those are probably two of my biggest specialties. But even if you just, want somebody to talk to in the community, I've been in the community for over 10 years now, and I'd love to be a listening ear, hear you out, maybe offer some resources, and just chat with you.
Awesome. Okay, thank you so much for doing this today.
Yeah,
and
thank you.
Look forward to movie time.
Yes.
Soon. All right.
Cool.
Thanks, y'all. All of that information, of course, will be down in the description or in the show notes if you're listening to this one. And until next time, keep on good loving.